Oh shit,
Hey,
I don't
hey
have it.
everyone. Hey everyone, welcome to the class tonight. My name is Dr. Asatar Bear, my co-teacher here, Leah Schaefer, and we like to start the class with a joke, and Leah has one for us tonight.
So our topic tonight is on forgiveness, and specifically, it's the we're going to explore forgiveness from a unity consciousness perspective. And so earlier, I told my housemate he asked, what are you teaching tonight? And I told him, and then he was working on a yoga sequence, and I was writing for the class and like really reflecting on the topic. And then he farts like more than one time. And I just look up at him and I say, that is unforgivable.
Doesn't matter whether you're in unity consciousness or not.
You
Some
are
things we can't let
disgusting.
pass.
Which made him laugh. He just did it more. So, so, so I have a lot of work to do on the topic, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, right. We've all got our work cut out for ourselves. It's like when we're talking about this and thinking about this, right? Forgiveness. A lot of times we get hung up, right? I mean, like we say, like, all right, if I forgive this person, well, then they're just gonna get away with it, right? And they won't learn their lesson, or I'll let them off the hook, and like we're proceeding from the idea that we're in control here, like we can control what lessons someone else draws from this experience, right? And I just think that's interesting, right? Like
Yeah,
how and what a burden that is, right? Like staying
yeah.
mad at somebody, being mad at someone. I mean, the Buddha has a nice line about this, right? It says holding on to anger is like holding a burning coal. um,
Oh, wow. I love that
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I
And
hadn't
so
heard
it's
that
like,
one.
I don't, maybe it's hurting the other person, but it's definitely causing you pain, right? Like, and like I think we all know this, right? Someone has done something that just really upsets us, hurts us, makes us angry, whatever it is, right? And then we can't let go of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we're here. We want to talk about what does it shift your perspective? Does it broaden your perspective when we explore the state of unity, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
what we call the state of meditation, this state where you feel in your being that you're one with all beings and all things, that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a conceptual idea, right? That's not, oh yes, I've read this in some mystical text or whatever, right? That's the experience that you're having. That's how it feels in your heart, in your body, right? um,
Yeah.
and how does this change your perspective on forgiveness, on everything, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of like one of our big interests in this, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I want to be really clear with everyone. This is an invitation. Like we can put this on any level. Like so we can forgive like some small part of ourself. Maybe it's even just like a small little like tiny thing tonight. You can just focus on that about yourself, right?
Hmm.
Um, we never want to advocate for forgiving any behaviors that are that you're not ready to. That's something that it was just totally something you're not even willing to approach. And because there are some really horrific things in existence, and so I understand. And that's not not trying to shame you into forgiving anybody. And and it's not so much about that. It's not so much about having the answer to like the biggest things, but so much more about just exploring areas that you do want to explore tonight in
Yeah,
yourself and in your heart. Um, and we're not going to force anything. So I just want to be really, really, really clear about that.
that's a good point, because a lot of times
Yeah,
there's a lot of manipulation around that, isn't that? Because
right,
people are
right,
like
and
pressuring you,
mhm,
to forgive, or to kind of give the outward sign of that, right? And I
mhm.
always think this is kind of worse, right? Like, you
Yeah,
know, because it's not real, like
Yeah.
when you're ready to forgive, that's a real thing, right? You can't make that happen before you're ready.
Yeah, and we're gonna kind of zoom out a bit, hopefully tonight, and try to look at things a little bit more differently. But there's this wonderful saying about, I don't know the exact terminology, but it's something along the lines that um, that I don't blame somebody for their faults, but I do not encourage them in that direction even like an inch.
Yeah.
And so you can have both things. You can have the strong boundary, you can totally be somebody that's not going to enable something, that's going to hold a person accountable, but you can still and help them understand, help them grow, or just yourself. But not like enable that behavior and not give into it an inch or not encourage it an inch. And so I just want to say that those things are not mutually exclusive as well, since this topic has the ability to drum up a lot. So
I know,
yeah,
right? I mean, I
yeah,
think it kind of goes under the heading of like you can forgive, but it doesn't mean you have to forget. Um, you don't have to forget what happens, right? You don't have to,
yeah.
and that point
Or
about,
encourage it or
yeah,
enable it or support it. Yeah.
right. You don't have to support it,
Mhm.
and you can and should create boundaries so that it doesn't happen again, right? But we're talking about just the part that you can control, the part that's in your own heart, right? um, because it's for sure a burden, right? That's something that
Mhm.
you feel that in your heart, and that's going to come up, especially when you meditate on your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I've been just reflecting on this a lot, and there's like inside of myself like kind of a forgiveness process happening, and like this it feels very much like a softening and unwinding. And
Mm,
there's been this sense of like needing to hold um a shield in front of my heart, like because it's been wounded. And so like this sense of like needing to hold that shield and like make the other person other as strongly as possible, and make them the dark, the like in my own little mind, like the enemy, whatever. We do that all the time.
yeah.
Where we try to create separation, and so we do that through like this storytelling and everything. But it's like, the things that I've been reading have been pointing me toward helping me to understand like my role in participating in that dynamic by my reaction. And I can very much like throw stones back at someone and cause just as much pain, just as much hurt toward them, right?
Mm,
um and so I'm participating in the behavior that I don't like, right? Or that's
mm,
hurting me. And these things that happen in our lives, they're actually the world. The existence is built from the opposites. We talk about that a lot. Asatar and I believe that life is all one, that all of existence is one existence. And so to live in a world where there's such duality and to say there's only one life is a very difficult thing to reconcile, because there is such darkness in existence.
yeah.
And right. And so what I've been reading has been saying like these things that come and agitate and stir your soul, like they're actually these experiences where there's nowhere else to turn but the omnipotent life. And whatever your word might be for that, maybe it's the universe, maybe it's God, maybe it's life itself or life force, like whatever your word for it is. There are certain things that are just not healable, from our mind. And we get stirred so deeply in our soul that it's like we have to call on something that is bigger than us, because there's nowhere else to turn. And when we do that, we can have an experience of soul awakening, an experience of soul realization, an experience of God realization, an experience of universal life living
Mm,
within us. And in fact, we're bringing it into the darkest parts of us. And if there is any like bringing heaven onto earth, like that's it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a profound privilege to allow your clay to be, you know, worked by the universe, and to allow it to be molded by the universe in a way that allows you to take shape where you can become a container, you know, for other beings and for progress. We would never, um, we would never say to someone who has cancer, oh, I hope that you never heal. We search for that, you know, we search for it in science. We go to the ends of the earth to try to find the solutions to these things, right? Because we want ultimately, as compassionate hearts, we want to help humanity on. There's no difference with diseases of the emotions and diseases of the psyche and diseases of the soul. Like,
Mhm.
there is no difference in like our ability to want to have the answer to that, and have the resolutions, have the medicine, have the cure. And
Mhm.
so like maybe I'm not the one that's going to find the cure, but I can at least hope that someone else does, you know, or I can at least hope that that person, once, if the medicine is available, that they take a sip of it, you know, that they open the doors of their heart and take it in. And so I just really want to encourage everyone. You can tell that I'm very impassioned about this, and I just really want to encourage everyone to really take a moment to realize that if you think that love and compassion are profound, like this energy of forgiveness is to really let universal love that is beyond our human conception in. And
Yeah.
that is a privilege beyond words or measure.
Absolutely. That's beautifully said. And I think it's like we struggle with the concept of unity. We struggle with it philosophically, right? Because it's like,
Mm.
okay, if there's one being and one life, what does that mean, right? What does it mean to say that everything is one being, right? What is when we think of a being, we think of, okay, there's characteristics, there's qualities, right? Does this being care for us? Does this being hate us, right? Like, what is,
Right.
right? Like,
You
and it's
can
like,
feel
okay, well,
abandoned. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, right.
Yeah.
And then you can say like, oh my God, there's, I've experienced horrible pain, trauma, suffering, right? How could God let this happen? I mean,
Let
like,
this happen. Yeah.
I mean, that's like one of these great, the cry of the soul, this kind of question. And, if we want to if we want to say we're coming at it from unity, well, then everything is unity, right? Like what we call good and what we
Yeah.
call bad, it's
Yeah.
all, it's all part of God, and that really stretches our minds, right? Like,
God, it's really
how do
hard.
you, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't really hold it in your mind. Your mind is not designed for that, right? But you can hold it in your heart, right? I mean, that's at least what I've
Mhm.
experienced, right? Like the paradoxes they cause an overload, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know, you struggle with it, right? Um, and then you enter into the very depth of your being. You enter into the infinite and the universal within your own heart, and you feel it all. You encompass it all. You are it all, right? Um,
Mm.
and to say that makes it comprehensible is not quite right, right? It doesn't, it's still not comprehensible. It's just, it's it is the whole experience, right? Like you say, well, I'm not going to judge this is good, this is bad, right? I mean, this is what our minds do, put things in different compartments, right? Well,
Yeah.
unity is not has it's not about that, right? It's all there, and
Well, and
it's mind blowing, right?
right. And it's like, and I think it's to help each other on and to help humanity on. You know,
Yeah, because
it's
you look
like,
at things differently when you say we're all one, right?
right. Like if it would be like to say, like, if we really believe that we're all one, and life is all one, if you just think about like your own body, like if you took that metaphor and just put it to your own physical self, right? Like if you said, my whole body is one, my emotions, my mind, my spirit is all one.
Yeah,
Well, like, you know, how often do we get mad or, pain, condemn, like, judge our own body, judge our own self. And like, and maybe even like, like you're saying, like not be able to find like the reasoning why has this happened to me, you know, but it's like, I'm not going to cut my own arm off. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to like,
Right.
it's like one of those things where we have to deal with it, and we have to work with it, and we have to find a way. And it's in those moments of deep doubt where it's the most profound to let spirit in.
Yeah.
Like it just is, because it's the hardest. It's like,
Yeah.
and it does, that's when divine grace really hits home. And by home, I mean you. Whew.
Luckily, it's also when you're the most motivated, right? Because because you need that. You're
Well,
struggling,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, maybe, or maybe you're just drinking and
Yeah. Well, there's
who
lots of ways
knows?
of coping, right? That's true.
But I mean, hopefully, but if you know that there's a way, maybe you become more motivated. So
Yeah.
that's what we can hope. So we should probably meditate. Um, and then we'll continue. So let's try this out. Um, is that okay, Asatar?
Yeah. Let's meditate. A good idea.
Okay. Okay. So take your meditation posture. I'm just getting myself up onto a pillow because my knees were higher than my hips, and so that way I can breathe better. I am sitting on a chair. You can also sit on a chair where your knees are lower than your hips. So maybe sitting up onto a pillow, you can support your back with pillows. And the idea is that you're making your spine an antenna, and then you're allowing your abdomen to have as much space as possible so you can breathe full deep breath. So the first thing is like, congratulations, you've committed to sitting down. That's the hardest part, I'd say, in a lot of ways. So you've made it. This posture signifies that you've made it to your commitment to yourself and to your love of yourself and your love of life. And then we're going to start with our classic first steps. So before we begin, we'll start with an intention, since this topic is so loaded. And so look into your heart, your beautiful abode of the divine beloved, your dear, dear heart. Just look deep down inside your heart. And just listen for a moment, just check in, just be with your heart, feeling what's there, again, without judgment, just feeling what's here today. Nothing wrong, nothing right. We're going to go to that field. Rumi talks about it. He says, beyond the ideas of right and wrong, there is a field. Meet me there. So already, at the very beginning of your own practice, be in that field. Feel that field. And that field is all around you, and it's also in your own heart. And then just ask your heart what it would like to work on today. And that answer can come in the form of words, it can come in the form of sensation, or maybe an emotion. Maybe it's not quite formulated into words. And so just listen for a moment. Trusting your heart knows much more than you do. Trust in your heart that it has the power and capacity to And then once you have that sense of what it is you'd like to work on, maybe it's just a somatic feeling in your body, not just, but in that form it comes, or maybe it's, you know, exactly the thing. Just start to breathe into it. And so deepen your breath. And you might notice, like, even just bringing up the topic of forgiveness, it might be hard to breathe. That's okay. It's totally normal and totally natural. And I just want to invite you to remind yourself that in your meditation space, you are safe, that your heart does have all its own medicine already infused within its own being. And it will never give you anything that you don't want to meet with your own or universal energies. It will never give you anything you're not ready for. And your breath is there to help you too. These are your two greatest friends, you know, like your breath is just meeting everything that's happening. And as you breathe, start to make your breath rhythmic and full and deep. Already, just your breathing in this way is creating harmony in your body on a very fundamental level. Without your mind understanding what's happening, your mind's helping conduct, your mind is helping you focus, but your mind doesn't know why your breath is so effective at creating harmony in your body. It doesn't need to know why, you know, it's okay. Just let your body breathe. Drop in. And let your breath be full, imagining your breath filling your whole torso, filling your whole body from the bottom up. And if it's hard to inhale, you can't force it, but you can kind of let the muscles start to unwind, start to soften. And then as you exhale, you know, you're exhaling mostly organically, but it's like that last bit of breath that we hold on to. You know, we hold on to so many things, and I really want you to exhale everything that you have. Give all the breath out today. So at the bottom of the exhalation, use your abdomen, squeezing your abdomen in and pushing the breath to its limits. Creating room for new life to come right in. So keep breathing this way, and if you are able, start to sync your breath up with your own heartbeat. So this is something that takes practice, it takes time. If you don't have that today, it's okay. It's perfectly okay. You're still fully worthy of love. You're still fully worthy of meditating. But see about breathing in rhythm with your heartbeat. See about feeling your heartbeat through the full extent of your inhalation and your exhalation. And in time, you can start to make it more musical to the point where you say, I'm going to breathe for this many heartbeats in and this many heartbeats out. And maybe at first you have to use a number, but then later you can start to use a word or a mantra on every heartbeat in order to create that sine wave, the perfect sine wave of your heartbeat moving in perfect harmony with your breath. And this is a scientifically proven experience. You can get an HRV machine and really see this for yourself. Heart rate variability. But tonight, just tune in. Tune in with the harmony you're creating. Good. And then I know that the topic tonight is so sensitive, and so I'm going to say a prayer that creates a lot of protection for us. I want to invite you, if you like, if you have your own prayer or mantra or invocation, if you have your own, please, I welcome you to say the one that comforts you the most, where you feel the most connected to your guides, where you feel the most connected to the omnipotent life. And just to help us really be in a space of protection, I'm going to say a prayer that calls on my spiritual lineage. Toward the One, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Okay, and now comes the time where I'm going to invite you to really look at and feel in your body that part of you that's in great pain, that part of you that where your soul has been stirred and agitated. And then we're going to move right into the water breath. So what the water breath is to inhale through your nose and exhale out your mouth. And so you're still doing full rhythmic breathing, but now you're inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And as you find inside yourself that area of agitation, that area where there's an irreconcilable feeling, it doesn't make sense. Why? It's not right. That agony, that pain. But this time it's not alone. This time you're right there with it, and so is your breath and your breathing. So first just begin by meeting it with your breath. Full breathing in, full breathing out, letting it share whatever it wants to share as you breathe, whatever sensations come. And now I don't want you to worry at all about finding the solution in your mind. I want you to actually totally almost cut your head off. Like, we're not going to figure this out mentally. I just want you to surrender. I want you to surrender your mind deep into your own deepest sense of desire for love and desire for compassion, and your deepest sense that maybe there is a form of love that is omnipotent and omnipresent and all pervading, a form of love that has no direction, a form of love that is bigger than the ocean. And as you breathe, I want to ask you to invite that love in. Let that love ride on your breath. The love that is beyond concept, the love that is beyond form, the love that is in every cell of your body and every space around you. I just want you to let that love right into that pain, right into that dissonance. And this is where you really have to surrender your mind, because you're going to want to have a shield around it, you know, you're going to want to keep that protection up. And this is where you have to really let love in. Let yourself be vulnerable enough to know that we do not have all the answers and that we do not understand all things. Vulnerable enough to know that there are energies of love that are bigger and more profound than anything I could ever imagine. And then, my dear hearts, I want you to be brave enough to let that love in, riding on your very breath, your very breathing. You're giving. You're giving that part of yourself that is still connected, even though you tried to separate yourself so diligently from it. It's still connected to that thread of humanity that is irreconcilable, that is so agonizing, and you cannot separate yourself from it. And I want you to give that part love where it lives inside of your being. Let your guard down, disarm your own self, disarm your own being, so that you can let this love in. Not knowing what the outcome will be, but just seeing what would happen. And I'm only going to give you one more minute to do this. So this is the time. I'm here. We're right here. Asatar and I are right with you. This is the time. Let it unwind like it's blooming. let it soften. And then as you're ready, just maybe holding your heart for a moment and just really thanking your heart and thanking your body, thanking your whole self for being human and for being alive and for letting life use your clay, use your whole body and your whole being to find its own home, to realize its own ability and capacity to cross all boundaries with the energy of love. It is not for the weary. So thank yourself wholeheartedly. And then as you're ready, when you're ready, move your body and open up your eyes.
Lovely meditation tonight, Leah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for meditating with us as well.
That really got us off on the right foot there, I think, in terms of tuning ourselves to this. And I'm noticing just for myself, I'm having a stressful week. I mean, the beginning of my semester at RCC, and I'm moving, so I've got stuff everywhere, and I'm, I figure all of the details that go along with that, right? All the stuff that you have to figure out,
Yeah.
and so I sit down tonight, and I just come in feeling very overwhelmed, and there's
Yeah.
just something that's so relaxing about expanding your being and letting down the things that aren't really yours. Um, like we go through life carrying these burdens, and they're not really ours to carry, right? You know, and um, and there's something about just diving into that unity, that just it just shifts your perspective. So it's hard to convey, it's hard to explain it, but I just I feel the like I feel like a kind of weight has been lifted from
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's hard to communicate. It's hard to even remember yourself. You have these experiences of meditation that feel so um, it's so deep, it's so broad, it's so high, it's everything, right? And then you go back into life, and it's a life of limitation, it's a life of separation, and right.
Yeah. It
How do you remember that, right? How do you remember that we're all one?
Yeah, and it's totally supposed to be that way. It reminds me of the I Heart Huckabees movie. They start, if anybody hasn't seen that, definitely watch it. It's hilarious. But they start like hitting each other in the face with this ball as their way of experiencing unity consciousness, which is hilarious by itself. But they're like, well, we'll just do this all day, every day. And the woman's like, no, like human drama is gonna come back in. And they're
Yeah,
like, no, like we'll just do this all the time.
totally.
So that's why I was laughing when you're like, but then the limitations, they come right back. Um,
It does come back,
so,
and
yeah,
that's okay. It's all part of the dance, right? Life involves expansion and contraction, and the breath involves that, right? There's a cycle here, there's a rhythm here, and we forget and we remember, and yet we still make progress, right? There's still a kind of um, a spiraling kind of forwards, and
yeah,
so this is our
yeah,
kind of task to, like, can you teach meditation? I don't know if you can teach it right now. Maybe we're trying to do the impossible here, but we're trying to kind of, give a flavor of it, perhaps, or, we invite you, right? All right. We'll at least tell a few jokes along the way. I don't know.
We'll do our best. Please forgive us.
We forgive us. We have a nice comment here from Everett.
Oh, Everett, thank you so much.
We,
Yeah.
thanks for being with
And
us.
and I really do appreciate everyone that is like, it can take a really long time to let our guard down enough to like let those energies in.
Yeah,
Um, and it's easy. Like sometimes I have it and sometimes I don't, and that's okay. And it's like just again, it's all okay. Like, it's not about judging ourselves or judging anyone else, you know.
yeah, or
So,
blaming. It, like you said.
right.
You're not gonna, if you make a mistake and you drop something, you're not gonna cut off your hand or something, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know,
Hopefully not. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Because you recognize,
Mm.
okay, I'm a being here, right? Okay, well, I'm so, yeah, my hand slipped or whatever, right? But like, I mean, you think about how could you solve the problem, right? But you don't think primarily about, like, okay, which part of me is responsible here? How do I punish this part, and whatever, right? So
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, we wanna punish, and it's like
yeah,
that's the thing that you keep referring to, is like we have that tendency, and I totally do. I know you think I'm super sweet, but I do have that in me. I promise I can get quite vicious. And so like I have that in me where I want to defend myself, or I want to attack, or I want to punish. I want to share my pain with the other people, and it's like that's me participating,
yeah,
that's me participating in the very thing that I'm upset about, you know.
yeah,
So that's not quite the right way. Um, so
not quite, not
not
quite.
quite. So
I hope that it comes across what we're saying, that we're not trying to moralize here. We're not trying to say this is what you should do or this is what you should not do. And that might make it kind of hard to follow, like what we're saying, right? Like, because when you say, like, do this, don't do that, that's at least pretty simple. Right? I mean, that's comprehensible. Like, we're not even saying that. We're saying a bunch of freewheeling philosophical stuff, right? Like, and it's like, what is that? How do you make use of this, right? Um,
yeah,
because the truth is, like, if we were to give you rules, that would inevitably to be too limited. Like, and some of the
yeah,
time the rules, maybe they're well intentioned or whatever, are going to lead to the very thing that we're trying to kind of prevent here, right?
ugh,
um,
brutal.
yeah,
So true, but so
because
brutal.
life gives you all kinds of situations, right? And
Mhm.
so I think what all we can kind of really say is, well, first of all, you have to be the judge of your own situation, right? You're the best judge there, right? But it's also
Mhm.
like, we just look at it this way, right? What is the energy that you're bringing to the situation, right? What is the
There you go.
what is the way that you are reacting to it? What
Mhm.
is the what is the vibe that you're giving off? What is the energy that you're in, right? Because that stuff all matters a lot, right? And you can do something with a very different energy, right? So we're not saying, it's not all about what you do, right? It's also about how you do it and what is the
Mhm.
energy that you do it with, right? That,
Yeah,
because that changes things, right? And maybe
yeah.
it leads you to do different things. That's also possible, right? Um,
Mhm.
so, we have another comment here. Cultural Protestants tend to suffer from this more than those raised culturally Catholic. This punishment tendency, which is interesting to think
Mm.
about. Yeah, right. Because
Yeah,
you have that very strong emphasis there, right, about
right.
you
And then it
know
turns on you. Yeah,
sin and redemption, and the guilt and punishment and all this stuff, right?
right. And it's like these things like love is something that is alive, okay? And it's like something that is a living experience. And so you always have to find the way to make it actually real and actually living in that moment.
Mm.
It's never a fixed experience, you know? And so that's why, like, when we're calling on forgiveness or calling on compassion, like, which are different things, but know that it's meant to be a living thing that's meant to be met at that moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like what Asatar's saying, like, what's the energy I'm bringing back? Am I throwing stones at the one that hurt me? Is that any better? You know? And like, no, I'm perpetuating the same energy. And so, like, what's the different energy though? I need to have a boundary. That's fine. But like, I
And
don't
how
have
do
to
you
have a
bring,
boundary cruelly. Right. Yeah.
yeah, how do you bring different energy? I mean, this is, I think, one
Mhm.
of the, maybe more comprehensible or concrete kinds of skills that we're trying to develop in meditation, right? How do we work with energy? How do we change our own energy, right? Like, I'm angry, I'm hurt. That's okay. I mean, come on, we all
Yeah.
experience that, right? But like, maybe that's not where you want to be coming from, right? Maybe you don't want to be reacting from that place, right? So, well,
Mhm.
how do you change that? Um,
Mhm.
well, you go within, right? I mean, you use your breath, you breathe into your heart, um, and having a practice of that, having a repeated intention of doing that, working
Mhm.
on that, right? It just
Yeah.
yes, it made a huge difference for me. I'll tell you that, right?
Because that anger energy can be transformed into like serious action energy. And that
Yeah,
action energy can go in very positive directions for your own life. And so it
exactly.
doesn't have to be, I'm going to use that anger energy to punish someone. It could be, I'm going to use that anger energy to change my fucking life, you know?
Yeah,
So just to be clear, like, we don't say don't be angry. That's not what we're saying here.
no,
So yeah.
we're
Hmm.
saying feel it all, but you
Feel everything.
feel everything. But what does it mean to take it to a state of unity, right? Um, and how can we move toward that as a real experience, right? So let's do our second meditation and let's move into that. And so once again, take your good upright meditation posture. I'm sitting on a meditation bench tonight, which is nice change. And tune into your breathing. And we always want to work on our foundation here, our foundation of the breath. So we want to perfect the breath. The heart rhythm meditation, we seek to make the breath deep, to make the breath slow, to make the breath rhythmic, to make the breath heart centered, and to make the breath full. And this is a lot. I know I'm asking a lot by saying all of this, and Leah went through it very beautifully earlier. Deep means you expand your belly as you breathe in. Just allow your belly to expand. Excuse me. And slow means your breath takes longer to complete. So smooth out your breathing, deep and slow, slowing down the rhythm of your breath. And we also want to make the breath rhythmic, to make the breath heart centered. We can do this in one stroke, tuning into the heartbeat and syncopating the heartbeat with our breath so that we have the same number of beats on the inhalation as we do on the exhalation. Perhaps you get to 8 beats in, 8 beats out, for example. Or you choose the rhythm that works for you in this moment. There's no judgment here. What we want is rhythmic, heart centered. Maybe you can't quite feel your heartbeat right now, that's okay. Just imagine what it is. Take a count that you think might be what your heartbeat is. Or maybe you can just lightly press on your breastbone and feel it. You Could even lightly press on your wrist and feel your pulse. If you pay attention and practice this form of meditation, you will eventually feel that that is what we have learned by teaching this to many people. Now feel the energy of your heart. Feel that as you breathe in, your heart is receiving energy. And as you breathe out, your heart is expanding, radiating, expressing your unique energy, speaking, creating, growing, influencing, all of these things. There's an inward energy. There's a receptive energy as on the inhalation and an expressive energy on the exhalation. So make your heart the energetic center of your being. Feel that it is your heart that receives this vital energy. The breath is life. Breathe in and bring your heart to life. Breathe out and let your heart sing your song. We long to express ourselves. It's a fundamental drive. We long to create. So just feel that as you breathe out. And the last step here is to make the breath full. So to really use as much of the capacity of the lungs as we can. So you start as you breathe in by expanding your belly. And then you allow that expansion to continue all the way up to your collarbone. And now we're not just doing deep breathing, we're doing both deep breathing, also called abdominal breathing, and we're also bringing in the chest, expanding the chest and the rib cage, completing the breath, bringing it all the way to the very top. But working on making that motion very even, very smooth, powerful and smooth at the same time. And then on the exhalation, we reverse the process, contract, breathe out. The breath wants to rush out all at once. Don't let it. Make it smoother than that, always smoother. And then squeeze your abdominal muscles. Get to the very bottom of your exhalation. And there's a metaphor here where we're giving all that we can by breathing out all the way. We are finishing. We are finishing that note. We are expressing ourselves to the utmost. How often do we censor ourselves? How often do we not say the things that we know to be true? Out of fear. How will it be received? How will I be perceived by others? Will I be understood? Will I be met? Will it be rejected? How often do we hide? How often do we silence ourselves? What would it be like to express all that you have to express, to shine your light, to not dim it, not hide it, not be afraid of how it's met? It might be quite a thing. And as you breathe in, then consider what would it be to take it all in. How often do we say, no, I don't want to feel this or that. I don't want to I don't want this gift life is giving me. Life is giving me pain. I don't want that now. We put up walls, we put up barriers. We don't want to take that in. If we don't breathe all the way in, we cannot breathe all the way out. And if we do not breathe all the way out, we cannot breathe all the way in. And our capacity gets smaller and smaller. The walls get narrower and narrower. What would it be to broaden, to deepen, to move forward, to move higher, to expand your heart to the very horizon and beyond? Feel that your heart is all. Now, we were discussing this question earlier. If the nature of the universe, of reality, of God, is oneness, is unity, why then is there suffering? Why then is there pain? Why does God allow this, right? If God is love, I mean, this is the contradiction, right? How does a loving being allow this suffering, allow this trauma? Well, the reality is that pain is inevitable when the limitless nature of your spirit meets the limited world. That will cause pain. There is no way around that. Your soul is not limited. Your soul is unlimited. But your body is limited. This world is limited. And so you live as both a perfect, infinite, eternal being and a painfully limited, temporary, finite being. That is our experience as human beings. Pain will happen here. But that's not all that happens, is it? There's an incredible richness. I mean, your soul is endless and eternal and perfect, but that's on the realm of pure spirit. You come to this world and you get to manifest the unique qualities of your soul in this life. You get to create a body, a personality, a mind, a being. Yes, it's limited, and yet it's also perfect. And how often do we see the limitation and overlook, ignore, not experience the perfection of our own being? Unity means embracing both. There is both limitation and the unlimited, the eternal, the perfect, the one. Both of those things are real. Both of those things are you. It's not one or the other. It's not saying, oh, I'm just my body, my mind, the things I know. No, we are also a soul. We are also a spirit. Nor is it correct to say, I'm just a soul. Right? No, you're also this limited being. You're all of it. And God is all of it. forgive yourself for your limitations. May you forgive yourself for your pain, for your trauma. And when you're ready, may you forgive those who hurt you. It happens in its own time. We never give it an experience before we're ready for it. I respect you too much to put a should on you, that you should do this, that, or the other. You are the best judge of what path you take. I only hope I can be with you in spirit. God bless you. So we end our meditation there. Thank you all so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you so much, Asatar. That was really wonderful energy. I felt very attuned with your meditation and with the universal life. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
Leah.
appreciate
It's
that.
nice to be together, yeah. And thank you to all of you who joined us this evening. If you'd like to support this show, we have our Patreon link, and of course you can like and subscribe and all that. We'd be very honored.
Yes.
If you happen to be in Tucson, you got to take a yoga class with Leah, and of course you should follow her on Instagram. And if you have a question or a comment, we'd love to hear it. Write it down there in the comments. And if you have an idea, something you'd like us to address, we'd love to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And happy meditating.
Keep on practicing. That's where the magic happens. Take care, everyone.
Good night.